All right, guys, let's take a look at the second set of notes for Chapter 3. This is 6.3 and 6.4. Learning target. I can use medians of triangles, and I can find and use mid-segments of triangles. Okay, so let's take a look of a median of a triangle. Is a segment from the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, so here on this diagram, let's say I have this triangle ABC, and then the line that goes from B to the middle of AC, right? You see three tick marks, okay? That's one of the medians of the triangle. Then I have another one here from vertex C to the middle of AB, and that's D right there. So it splits this up into two equal parts. And then the third one starts at vertex A, and it meets at a BC in the middle here. Okay, one tick mark, okay? So look at these relationships here, okay? This point right here, this is called the centroid of the triangle, okay? So this is the intersection of the medians, okay? And notice that I have each median, right, and the relationship to this point, the centroid. I have a long side and a short side. The long side is 2 times the short side. So imagine you're splitting this up into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, okay? 2 parts is belongs to the long side, and 1 part to the small side, okay? So basically, if I told you that the PE is 2 units, then that means AP would have to be 2 plus 2, right, which is 4, okay? So let's take a look here. In this triangle, point Q is the centroid, so right here, okay? So if SQ is 8, okay, notice that this is the longer part, right? So I take 8, I divide it by 2, okay, and I get QW. So QW is 4, okay? Notice that I can split this up into 4 plus 4, which is 8, and then 4 here, okay? So QW equals 4, okay? And now SW is going to be equal to 12. Okay, so now we are trying to find the centroid of the triangle on the coordinate plane, okay? So let's graph this out and go from there. 5, 8, and then 8, 3, T. Okay, so this is triangle RST. Okay, we want to find where the centroid is located. So the first thing you should do is graph the triangle, which we did, and then find the midpoint V of RT. Okay, then sketch the median SV. So here, RT, we want to find the middle of that segment. Okay, I can kind of visualize it where the middle is. The middle is going to be right here at this point, okay? But you can also use the midpoint formula, okay, between R and T, using R and T, okay? So we can add the x's, so 2 plus 8 over 2, and then the y's would be 1 plus 3 over 2, okay? So that means that the midpoint of RT is going to be equal to 2 plus 2 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2, which is this point right here. Okay, so we're going to label that point V right there. Now, to find the centroid, okay, actually, before we find it, let's sketch it out. So this one we kind of looked out because the median is a straight line, vertical line, right? So that's going to be easier for us to find the centroid. So basically what we have to do is we have to split this line up into three congruent parts, right? Because then we have to take 2 parts towards the vertex and then 1 part down, okay? So here we're going to write the vertices of the centroid. Look at this line. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So there's 6 units, okay? So if I do 6 and I divide it by 3, so 6 divided by 3 gives me 2, okay? So that means each part has 2. So the shorter part here is going to have 2, and the longer part is going to have 4, right? Double that, okay? So this is where the centroid is, okay? And that's at 5, 4. Okay, so let's take a look at this example right here. We have this triangle. We have some information here. There are three paths through a triangular park. Each path connects to the midpoint of one side to the opposite corner. So I know that point P here is the centroid, okay? The path meets at point P, okay? So point P is the centroid, okay? So now PS, so if I have PS right here, okay, and PC, I'm looking for those numbers when SC is 2100, okay? So it's 2100, okay, for the whole part. So remember, I can split this up into 3 parts, okay, and then take the parts that I need. So I take 2100, I divide it by 3, and I get 700, okay? So that means that the shorter part, which is SP, equals 700, and then the longest part, PC, equals 1400. Okay, so that's 1400, right? PC is double PS, okay? Okay, now TC, and BC, when BT is 1000. So now we're looking at the sides here, right? I know that this line AT splits this up into 2 equal parts right there, because that's the middle, right? So if BT, right, is 1000, then TC is also going to be 1000. Okay, feet. That's for TC, and then BC is the total. That's going to be double that. 2000. Oh, I misspelled that. 2000 feet. Okay. PA. So PA right here from P to A. I wanna know what that is, and I wanna know what PT is. Okay. When PT is 100. So look, I have the shorter one, okay, as 800. So that means that I can just do 2 times that to get AP. So AP or PA, same thing, okay, equals 2 times 800, that equals to 1,600 feet. And then TA is the whole segment, right? So it's going to be 800 times 3, which gives us 2,400 feet. Okay? Now, on the coordinate plane, to find the centroid, we also have the centroid formula. So for the problem here, right, we graphed it and we did it by hand, right? You can also use the formula. But remember, if you're going to use the formula, you're going to need to memorize it, okay, for the test. So here, I'm going to I'll do one of them with you, and then you're going to do the other one on your own just to practice, okay? I'm going to go ahead and do number 5, and then you're going to do number 4. So here, look. I just add the 3 x's and I divide it by 3, and then I add the 3 y's and divide it by 3, kind of like the midpoint formula. So here I have negative, so x's, right? Negative 3 plus 1 minus 1 divided by 3, comma, and the y's, 3 plus 5 minus 2 divided by 3. Okay, so that means the centroid, I have Negative 3 plus 1 minus 1 is going to give me negative 3 divided by 3, comma. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 divided by 3. Okay, so that's going to be equal to negative 1, comma, 2. Okay, I think it's pretty easy to memorize the formula. It's like the midpoint formula, but you're adding one more x and you're adding one more y. Okay, so like you're taking the average of the x's and the average of the y's. Okay, so you're going to do that one on your own to practice. Okay, now this section right here is about the mid-segment of a triangle. Okay, so I'm going to go through this example with you of how to find it, but let's take a look at what the mid-segment of a triangle is. So the mid-segment literally splits the sides into two equal parts, and it's parallel to the third side. So here, MP is the mid-segment of triangle ABC, okay? This is parallel to AC, okay? And here these two are equal, these two are congruent, okay? This one, PN, is also a mid-segment. It splits this side in half and this side in half, and it's parallel to this side, okay? And then you have the third one, MN, which is parallel to BC, okay? So notice these markings, okay, so that you understand how to do some problems here. Also, the other thing that you need to know here is that MP, okay, MP is equal to half of AC. Okay, so the mid-segment is half of the base, the side that they are parallel to. Okay. All right, so here we are being asked to find, to show, right, that this is the mid-segment, MN. So first you find the coordinates of M and N, okay, by finding the midpoints of K and J. So here, JK, okay, you see the midpoint of JK is negative 4, 3, and is 0, 2. Okay, so basically you just go and find half of it, and if you need to, you can use the midpoint formula, okay? Then we're gonna have to find the slope, find and compare the slopes of MN and JL, because if these two lines have the same slope, that means they're parallel. So slope of MN equals negative 1 over 4. So look, M to N, I go down 1, left 4. So that's negative 1 over 4. Slope of JL, so here, down 2 over 8. So negative 2 over 8, which simplifies to negative 1 over 4. So see how these slopes are the same? Okay, that's how we show that two lines are parallel. So I know that these two lines are parallel, okay? So since MN is in the middle of the side of M is in the middle of JK, and N is between LK, and MN is parallel to JL, then we know that they are, that's the mid-segment. But there's one more thing we have to confirm. We have to find and compare the lengths of MN and JL. Okay, so for MN, okay, you're gonna have to use the distance formula, okay? So you're gonna find that this is 17, the square root of 17, okay? And then for JL, when you use the distance formula, you're gonna find that this is equals the square root of 68, which simplifies to 2 square root of 17. Okay, so remember, you have to use the distance formula, okay? So when we compare here, look, MN, is MN equal to half of JL? Well, let's take a look. MN is square root of 17, and JL is 2 square root of 17. So you see these two cancel out, and then we get square root of 17 equals square root of 17, which checks what we were looking for. Okay, so the triangle mid-segment theorem, we talked about this in the previous page. DE, right, is going to be half of AC, or AC is 2 times DE. You can also say AC equals 2 times DE. This problem here, I'm going to ask you to try this on your own. So read it and then just follow here to find the answer. Okay, we can go over this in class. Here, triangles are used for strength in roof trusses. In the diagram, UV and VW are mid-segments. So here, UV and VW, they are mid-segments. Here and here, okay? So find UV and RS, okay? So UV, look, it's the mid-segment of this triangle, the blue one, look, here, here, and here, okay? This one here is parallel to this one, is the mid-segment right there. So that means since W equals 90, sorry, not W, but RT, since RT equals 90, okay, right here, so that means UV, then UV equals half of 90, 45, okay? Now we have the same thing here. VW, okay, is also a mid-segment. It's right, it's parallel to this side. So that means that since VW equals 57, then RS equals double 57, right, which is 114. Okay, so basically here, if I have this triangle, you can draw it out. This is 5 units, this is 5 units, okay? This is 3 units, this is 3 units. This is 20, this is 10. Okay? That's what the mid-segment of the triangle does.